Hey, Jasmine, how
Yes,
do you, how do you cultivate a better studying habits?
I feel like I probably am the worst studier ever. And I think like better, well, it's just like better indicates that you have some to begin with. So like if I have zero, then we can get from like zero to like not zero pretty easily. Um I think something that really helped me when I was studying, um, and this is like it sounds really hippy dippy and simple, but I'm queen of hippy dippy. Um, was actually just like creating a solid space to work. I
Mhm.
didn't realize, like, I mean, I in my old apartment, we were in a studio, didn't own a table because it was like itty bitty studio apartment in
Mhm.
Chicago. There was no need for a table. Um, and then the pandemic hit, and I was trying to study when I had like going to Starbucks like all the time to just like have a place to work on a table, and then everything shut down. So something that was like a really big um improvement just for like focus and generally feeling like I had like a space to study was, I mean, like we moved, but if I didn't move, I probably would have bought a table to like actually sit down
Mhm.
and like have a designated space somewhere that I was, dedicating to work, and then like, relaxing was for the couch. Like I was trying to do all my work on the couch. I was trying to relax on the couch, trying to like watch Netflix on the couch, like eat my dinner on the couch. Like the couch was for everything, and there was no separation between different like
Mhm.
purposes. And I think a lot of studying is like first like you have to put yourself in the best space to succeed. And so if that means like having a desk, like if you've already got a desk, like are you using it for multiple things? Like do you have a lot of stuff, like a lot of junk? Um, if so, like clear it off, see what you can clear off, because like you don't need like a million books, you don't need all your dirty clothes, like you don't need that to be there if you're trying to study. Like if you keep a clean space, like you know that when it's time to study, like you're there, you don't have to do anything else, you don't have to clean it off, you can just get down to work. So that was something that actually really really helped. And I think too, once I did have my space, I started auditing for, thinking about, okay, how did this session go? Like, how would I rate it 1 to 5? What made it like less than 5? And I think a lot of the times, like, I was trying to study too long. Like, here I was, like, "Ah, I must put in 4 hours a day for the LSAT." And then I was just like, getting distracted on Facebook because I really didn't want to do work. And a lot of it was I had like blocked out 4 hour chunks at a time
Yeah,
really late at night when I'm not a good studier.
that was a big thing for me
Yeah.
was figuring out how I can give myself the best hours a day for my
Mhm.
studying. Like I don't want to give my best hours to someone else. Like I wanted to be selfish with that time and like okay, I know between 10 and 1, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. those are my best hours, and then maybe 7 to 9 at night or whatever those are. I know some people aren't lucky enough that they can do that for those hours. I became a server, so I literally was working nights, so my mornings could be studying. Um,
Right.
a big thing that also helped with me because like areas of distraction, like I had to get out of. I studied pre-COVID, so to get out of my apartment, like I would actually go to the library to study, which was I just went to the community library and I would rent out a room, and for like 2 hours. And like when I went there, like obviously I'm going to go there and I'm going to study. And then if I couldn't get the room, I actually would just take buds and I would listen to tons of instrumental music. I know you have to be careful with that because you don't have it on the test, but I think some studying is better than no studying. So I listened to it all the time and it actually helped me become a better studier even when I had distractions because I was at least used to having some noise.
Right.
And I loved it. I listened to like pop instrumental on Spotify. It was great.
That's so cool.
Um,
I got really into like those weird like brain focus like playlists on YouTube, and it's really just like two chords, like, but it was just so weird. I was like, oh, I like this sound. Or I have a student who like she is really struggling with like this, like the fact that she can't go to the library. And so like what she does right now is she pulls up YouTube videos of library sounds, and it's like amazing. Like she'll put it on her phone and put it on the other side of the room, and like say for like 2 hours, like that's her study time for the day. And it's actually been really helpful. Like
that's
there's so many things
awesome.
that we've conditioned ourselves, like, oh, study means library, and so if you create library in your room, like it's a good
I also do things to like make me want to study where I spoil myself and I get my favorite pens. Or I actually saved up money to buy iPad with like the Apple Pen because, and I know this is more expensive, but like I love doing games on the pages, like on an app, like on the iPad, where it's like super fancy and fun, which I like, and I was like, I'll use this in law school. And I like look forward to it, or like burning candles. Like I truly make it an environment like I want to be or I feel prestigious in. Because then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go study and like have everything, which I tend to be the type of person that I have to make a big deal out of everything. So I do, because then I tend to thrive more. Which I know not everybody is like that at all. But the other thing that I've really learned is to have working meetings too. Like having your accountability partner and gonna be like, we're gonna study for 2 hours. It's fun. You're gonna talk for 15 minutes about whatever life is going on, and then put yourself both on mute or like both just sit there and just talk via like just having someone else there to hold yourself accountable to actually study. But if you're like, hey, we're going to do this section, I don't want to take this section, you don't want to take this section, but you're like, all right, we're going to take this section in 35 minutes, you have to be done, clearly you're going to do it. And I think that's something that can help too.
Definitely. I think breaking it up into tiny chunks too. Because I think part of it, like people are like, oh, like this is so much. Like I have to do so much. So I'm like, okay, you can do like 30 minutes here and 30 minutes later in the day. And like that's probably going to be more effective than like a whole hour straight through once you figure out like how do I remain focused? And I think too, people don't realize the power of like the small minutes, like especially if you're someone who works full time. Like I was doing games in between different meetings. Like I was waiting, like I basically worked as like a special assistant. And so I was like, okay, so and so has a meeting right now. It means I've got a good 30 minutes before I have to do anything else. Like I've already cleared my tasks for the day, especially like the end of the day, like 2 to 4:30 was like the really, really slow time of the day for me. And so like I like made it my goal, like I'm gonna do 2 logic games during this time and just really understand them and repeat them and just like go ham. Like, oh, so much printer paper at my disposal. Like it was great.
You have
But
to
it's like,
like while
yeah.
we all say like you should take your sections and your tests online as much as you can, don't be afraid to print some of them off so you have like in those times you have such easy access. Oh, I could literally pull out this game and do it anywhere because I have time. Like you're just removing so many barriers from a reason to not do it.
Right. And like with the games, I think that's probably the area you get the most grace on, like between doing it online and paper. Because
Mhm.
really, as long as you just make yourself a note that you can't write directly on the paper and you're doing your game all on the scratch paper, you're fine. Like that's basically what
Yeah.
you're doing in the test.
And even for LR or a reading comp, I'm totally okay with people at work printing off some or like getting a book and doing them at work. So you just carry your book. I did when I studied at home, I did everything on my computer, but I was a server. And so like sometimes the hour after work, I would sit at the bar and just open my book and do questions. Just because I like to be, I enjoyed being around people and I didn't want to go home to my apartment and just study because I already knew I was going to do that. And so I would just do like a reading comp passage and like I don't know, I really enjoyed that.
Hmm.
The other thing is you have to, it's so hard, but putting your phone on airplane mode, turning off notifications on your computer. And if you're really struggling some days, as much as great as it is to always study on your computer, if you for some reason aren't studying, like put your laptop away and use a book. Um, because some people like there's certain days like I'm more distracted by things like Facebook on my laptop than others, or my email notifications are so dangerous.
Definitely. I think like they would make me stressed out. So there was a point at which like I reduced my notifications on the phone. So like I would only get text messages, like everything else, I just wouldn't see those notifications. And like I think that made it so much more manageable. So like I'm like, okay, it's time to turn this off. Like the one thing I get notifications from is off. And like with laptops, I was like, please don't bother me. Like I would literally put like stuff on like um airplane mode at times, like
Yep.
everything.
I
I went
still and I
so off
still actually
topic.
use that now that I'm working. I put stuff on airplane mode for chunks of period of the time because I'm the most productive when I'm not getting distracted. And I know like if anything's important, you can call me twice. And then my phone will ring. Any other tips for how to be a better studier? Oh, the other thing that I would do is if I'm a very anxious person, and so if I have to get so much stuff done for the day, I would make a list of everything I have to get done so that when I'm studying, I'm not thinking about all the things I have to do. Because I really struggle with that. So if I'm like, I need to send this email, I need to send this email, I need to look up these 5 schools and see when their applications are done, blah, blah, blah. I would spend like 15 minutes at the beginning of my studying creating this massive list of things that most of them weren't even necessary. But then I'm like, nope, you don't even get to Google these right now. You have to wait till you're done studying, and then you get to Google all your questions.
Right. And I think like something that just generally helps reduce anxiety is like, keeping that list. Like maybe you have a list like a notepad by your bed. Like I know for me, something that was really inhibiting my studying was like I would just like I would get so anxious, especially leading up to the test. Like I would just like have so many thoughts running through my head. Like
Mhm.
I kept a notepad by my bed. So like anytime I thought about stuff that I had to do, like I just write it down. And it's like one less thing that's in your head. And I think like that can definitely work. Like maybe you need a Trello board, maybe you have like a to-do list or Google Tasks or something like that. Like just let yourself make a list and then give yourself like 30 minutes during the day, every day at a predetermined time, like when you're gonna get stuff done. Like if you've read Getting Things Done, that it's like a really popular book. I can't remember who it's by, but like that's like one of the premise, like one of the things that is making it really effective to get stuff done is like just give yourself 30 minutes of uninterrupted email time or uninterrupted task time, just so you know exactly when you're taking care of it. Like for me, I think it was like the first thing as soon as I get home, it's like, okay, random tasks that I need to do that are home related. Or at work, it was like, okay, the first like 30 minutes of the day were like email, like blah, 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 blah. But I would always make sure that kept my last, like, 4 to 4:30. That was like the ideal time to clean up everything, make sure any last minute stuff that I didn't do for the day got done. And it's like, okay, like I know it's gonna happen in the last 30 minutes of the day. And then it was done, and then go home. Um, we can do all sorts of those things. It's compartmentalization for our
And
studying.
like building up, you said setting really small goals for what you want to accomplish during your study time, because it's really easy to waste an hour. So even if it's just 10 LR questions, like you have to get 10 LR questions. Like you don't want to put so much that you're just like rushing stuff, because that's not the goal. But also like just like very small goals where you're like, okay, I have 30 minutes, let's try to get 10 questions done. And so yeah, if the 30 minutes goes off and you only got to 8, it was still productive, because you're like, all right, I know I need to focus, I know I need to do this. Because I think sometimes like we just sit there and read, and we just like reread a page, and we look around, and we don't, at least I do, where I'm like, all right, I got to get this done. And normally once I start, I'm pretty good.
Mm. I think getting started is like the hardest part, honestly, because it's like you're like there's so many thought distortions that we have. With like, oh, we have so much to do, like, and we think that it's a monolith, but it's like, okay, no, you got to just chip off little bits and pieces, and celebrating the small wins is so important.
Absolutely. All right. Any other thoughts on this, Jasmine?
Maybe, but not right now. But I
Not
know
right
I have
now.
more. I'm just
We'll
chatting.
have to do a part 2. But I hope this helps with all y'all studying.